The beginning of the end or Trump 2028? Question mark. 100 days of an unprecedented presidency. Going to read into this fascinating, interesting piece here from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article or an interesting piece here from Byline Times with the headline of the beginning of the end or Trump 2028. 100 days of an unprecedented presidency. There may be a far more sinister motive for Donald Trump to go as far as to try to violate the constitutional ban on running for a third term, writes Washington-based Alexandra Hall Hall has said here. Reminder just to hit that like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So how has Donald Trump been doing in his first 100 days since taking office? Not good is my opinion from on the outside. Now you have to remember the context here. I have obviously been reading from what I've read on the outside, from what Americans have been saying on the ground based off videos and the reports that they have been saying. Some people, there are some voters out there who generally believe that he's done a tremendous job. Some people generally believe that he's doing the right things. However, there's significant amounts of Americans as well who believe that what Donald Trump has done in his first 100 days has been nothing short of terrifying and awful. For example, tourism has gone down by up to 15 to 20% lately, and this is due to the fact that it is very much a case of if you've said or reportedly had any done any kind of social media or being anti-Trump in any way, shape or form across your social media, well, there's a good chance that ICE may be, when you come through and come to visit America, there's a chance that you will have to hand over your phone and they will check your phone. And if you've said anything that may be like that, anything along those lines, you could be sent back to the country that you come from because they would just basically deem you a threat to the American Trump administration, which is nonsense. I know, sounds crazy, right? There was even a German couple that was strip searched as well for no reason whatsoever. There's no context behind it. A British band was also banned as well from coming to America as well. So, you know, where's the enthusiasm to go to America on that? Oh, yeah, and also, yeah, there's been people been sent to El Salvador as well. You know, even innocent people have been allegedly been sent to El Salvador as well. So, you know, you know, El Salvador's not exactly a country that's been very, very kind as well. On top of all that, people have lost a lot of their social security. A lot of federal workers who have worked for decades within government departments have been found themselves sacked and kicked out to the curb. There was also a situation where the US tried to freeze all foreign aid funding, which caused mass panic across the globe, which meant that many people died as a direct result of freezing that funding. They turned it back on, but Elon Musk had already turned off the tap temporarily, which led to people actually legitimately dying, including people from his home country in South Africa as well, just to kind of add to all this, add to that as well. And then there's, of course, the tariffs. How can we not forget the tariffs, which, of course, cause crashes and which cause the stock markets to really drop off a cliff and contributed to trillions of dollars lost in the US stock market. Lots of businesses are suffering, and many of them in the next week or so, or even up to now, will start going out of business because of the over 140% tariffs by China, because of the tariff trade war that they have with China. And many businesses are going to go bust as well. The cost of living is going to skyrocket over the next couple of days, weeks and months in the United States of America, which will lead to obviously more people going homeless and more people trying to apply for social credit entitlements to keep themselves going. While at the same time, the Trump administration is going to try and stop people claiming those benefits and the entitlements that they need in order to survive, which means that those people will likely end up on the street, which means that you will end up with more homelessness than ever before in the United States of America. Like, I think it was last I checked on the report was like it's up to 1 million people are homeless in the United States. Got a good feeling that's going to be a lot higher under this Trump presidency. A lot more. But those are just a couple of things that we have learned about this Trump presidency. Let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So it says, I am in blood steep in so far that I should wold no more, returning where as tenuous as I gold. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Ah, okay. This famous quote from Act 3, Scene 4 of Shakespeare's Macbeth reflects the moment. I haven't watched Macbeth for a long time, just in case anyone's curious. Reflects the moment that when Macbeth realizes that he's gone so far down the path of evil that there is no turning back from it. Reflecting on the destructive and lawless nature of Donald Trump's first 100 days in office, one has to wonder whether he, too, like Macbeth, will conclude that his presidency has gone too far down the path of extremism to be able to course correct. Instead, despite his tanking poll numbers, he may be tempted to just keep upping the ante. Trump is already well known for his pathological evasion to admitting mistakes. Rather than reversing course in an effort to reassure voters and calm the markets, he could decide to accelerate the chaos in the hopes of keeping his opponents off balance. He could also try to explore the non-stop turmoil to justify taking even more extreme measures, such as clamping down further on, free speech, taking the Department of Efficiency, DOGE, to slash budgets even more, and federal agencies and bodies designed to oversee the executive and weaponize the institution of the state, such as the FBI and the Justice Department, to go after even more political opponents. His list of perceived enemies already include officials from his first administration, such as Chris Krebs, former Secretary of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, who challenged his claims in the 2020 presidential election was rigged, and former chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, General Mark Milley, who has publicly criticised him. It includes media outlets and journalists who report critically on his administration. It includes law firms that represent clients in lawsuits against him and or his businesses, which have been blacklisted from government contracts or bullied into signing agreements to provide it free legal service. It includes respective academic institutions such as Harvard and Columbia universities. It has been hit or threatened with budget cuts on the flimsy grounds that they have failed to take sufficient action against anti-Semitism. And let's be clear, it's not actual anti-Semitism what these campuses are doing. They're marching for the rights and the protections of Palestinian people, not Hamas. Go do your homework on that one. This list is now widening to include judges who have listed court orders against his administration, who are now being accused of judicial overreach. And last week, the administration even arrested a judge on the grounds that she had allegedly hindered the detention of an immigration by Immigration and Customs Enforcement's ICE agents. His list includes non-profit organizations, think tanks, independent entities, which advocate for the causes of his administration's opposes, such as climate change, diversity, equality, and inclusion, DEI initiatives, or democratic promotion. Yes, because everybody because in his mindset, not everyone should be treated the same. Everybody should be treated indifferently, apparently, which is discriminate and racist, basically, guys. His list even includes towns, cities, and states which are accused of not cooperating with his policies. On April the 28th, the President signed an executive order directing the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security to identify within a month those cities and states that are not complying with federal immigration laws and designate them as sanctuary jurisdictions. These could face federal funding cuts and possible criminal and civil lawsuits if they refuse to change their practices. The administration has gone after the state of Maine for failing to comply with the president's executive order to ban transgender athletes from girls' and women's sports, which states the governor has argued violates the Maryland anti-discrimination law. Both the Education Department and the Department of Health and Human Services have launched inquiries into the state over alleged Title 1X violation. It is the federal civil rights law which bans sexual discrimination. Various federal funded programs for the state have been suspended, such as one supporting its coastal economy or its correction program. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, declared that California and Minnesota should also be on notice for alleged non-compliance with the Trump administration's transgender policies. The narrative to Trump's devolved cascade of hardcore followers is that these tactics are necessary in order to overcome the deep state, which is allegedly resisting his plans to make America great again. Who are the deep state? What again, like, if you want to, like, they're in power. They're the ones in control. And claiming this deep state is, like, again, no context to this at all. Crazy, insane, lunatic White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has used her official pulpit to spout a non-stop series of exaggerations, distortions, and outright falsehoods about the administration's policies. For example, branding some of the forcibly deployed immigrants and criminal gang members without providing a shred of evidence. Because, if you get sent to El Salvador without even being put in front of a judge, without any due process, that's perfectly all right under this Trump administration. So you watching this right now, you could be sent to El Salvador living in America, even though that you have rights, human rights that you're supposed to have. They do not matter to this Trump administration. Just remember that. Meanwhile, Elon Musk uses his X platform to multiply smears against political opponents. But there's also an excess of far more sinister motive for Trump, not just to want to double down on his extremism, but perhaps even go as far as to try to violate the constitutional ban on running for a third term in 2028. A notion that has already started to toy with, judging by his campaign launch of Trump 2028 themed merchandise. This is to avoid the prospect of facing a deluge of lawsuits against him as soon as he steps down in January 2029 for gross abuse of power and multiple conflicts of interest. This would include a charge of having to use his office for personal gain, the most egregious example of which is the Trump meme coin he issued at the start of his second presidency, which critics say offered a hidden way for people to buy favors from him. Senators Adam Schiff and Elizabeth Warren have recently called for his official ethics investigation into Trump's plans to host a private dinner with holders of his meme coin, alleging that it may constitute a pay-to-pay corruption. Trump may hope that Supreme Court 2024 ruling giving him presidential immunity in a case involving election interference may offer him widespread protections against any future lawsuits arising from the second term. Chief Justice John Roberts held that the president cannot be prosecuted for conduct within his exclusive constitutional authority because if a president official acts are routinely subjected to scrutiny in criminal prosecutions, the independence of the executive branch may be significantly undermined. Writing in the Hill, Nick Alderman, a former assistant special Watergate prosecutor and former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, noted that in response to the Supreme Court's decision, the White House has scenically dressed up as official acts of Trump's illegal edicts aimed at law firms, universities, and he's of two former disloyal administration officials. Based on Supreme Court immunity decisions, none of these proving Trump's true motives can be used to rebut presidential immunity to show that Trump was not acting in his official capacity as president. Robert was clear, writing in dividing officials from unofficial conduct, courts may not inquire into the president's motives. However, what is to prevent any future Democratic-led administration from exploiting those same wide executive powers to launch official investigations against Trump once he has left office, and from further allowing Trump's examples to defy any court orders seeking to prevent such investigations? Perhaps Trump could try to grant himself a preemptive pardon as his last act before leaving office in 2029, assuming that he does not win re-election. But Trump has already set an unhelpful precedent which could be used against him, seeking to overturn the pardons in which Joe Biden issued for members of his family in the last days of his presidency. Even if the Supreme Court ruling does offer Trump personality a strong degree of protection, it is unclear if this would extend to officials in his administration who have facilitated his lawlessness, let alone members of his family or businesses or cronies who have sought to cash in on his presidency. Even if it proves impossible to bring cases to successful conclusions, the very process of investigation and public trials will expose the administration's actions to unwelcome scrutiny. Collectively, and his close associates therefore have a strong interest in trying to cling on to power through any means possible. This could include engineering and some major domestic crises or in international emergencies such as conflict with Iran. Perhaps that's one reason why Trump has been so reluctant to fire Pete Hegseth from the Department of Defense, despite his manifest magnificent incompetence and unsuitability for the role. Trump needs to have people around him who are totally loyal and can be relied upon to do his bidding without question. In turn, the more his associates are implemented in his administration misdeeds, the greater their self-interest is propping him up. They sink or swim together. Trump would not be the first authoritarian leader to go down this path in order to stay on in power. Considering the case of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who many believe has deliberately extended the war in Gaza in order to justify emergency powers and to stave off the numerous corruption cases against him. Or Russia, where many believe that the Russian state orchestrated the 1999 apartment bombings in Moscow as a false flag operation blamed on Chechens in order to garner public support for a new full-scale war in Chechnya and solidify Vladimir Putin's ascent to power. Conventional wisdom suggests that in a democracy, any leader facing a tanking opinion polls either voluntarily changes course or is forced to do so by the party, or is unceremoniously ousted by voters at the next election. At the 100-day point, many pundits are speculating that the tide is already beginning to turn against President Trump. Even if he personally remains reluctant to back down, the sheer combination of hostile public opinion, the multiplying numbers of court orders against his administration, the turbulence of financial markets, and perhaps even a few brave Republican members of Congress ready to speak out, may finally begin to tell against him. But this is a president who has defied all conventional wisdom so far. He has an affinity for dictators. What if he chooses to go down a different, more dangerous path ahead? And this was written by Alexandra Hall Hall. Is a former British diplomat with more than 30 years' experience with postings in Bangkok, Washington, Delhi, Bogota, and Tripoli. She resigned from the Foreign Office in December 2019 because she felt unable to represent the government's position on Brexit with integrity. And she is also the co-host of the Disorder podcast there. It's a very good piece by Alexander there. Very fascinating to say the least, and it's very, very scary indeed for the United States of America. We haven't even reached the midway point of this year. We still have a long way to go for President Trump. I don't see Donald Trump getting ousted in any way, shape, or form. I know some people might think that may happen. I can see him potentially having a accident, which could lead to J.D. Vance becoming the president of the United States, which I actually think would be much, much worse for America rather than Donald Trump. Given the language and tone that comes out of J.D. Vance, I think that would be very, very bad for America if that was to happen. So what do you do? And the thing is, he's already subverting the elections. They're already subverting the elections as much as they possibly can in their favor for the benefit of Republicans as well. It's not good, guys. It's not a good time at all. And I do urge any non-Americans who are watching this, please do not travel to America. If you have said or tweeted anything relating to President Trump in a negative way, you could find yourself put on a plane sent back to where you come from. I cannot stress this enough. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. There have been numerous stories out there, and they're only building. There's a reason why tourism is dropping in America, because people's safety is not guaranteed. If you want to go to Canada instead. They've got a great prime minister, Mark Carney. I would recommend that instead. Well, what do you guys think? What do you guys make of Donald Trump's first 100 days in office? Let me know your thoughts and more on this piece and on his 100 days down in the comments section below. If you found this video interesting, informative, or helpful, please hit that like button, share it across social media, subscribe if you haven't already, check out the Rumble and Patreon contents down below as well. And if you want to financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for just 99p. Just hit that join button down below. And thank you all so much for watching. And I hope to catch you all very, very soon.